All right. I'd like to welcome a very special guest. I got Jimmy House. This man is a all-around competitor. He's a very, very competitive person. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He competed recently over at the AZ catch wrestling and bullpen submissions. We'll touch on that because you had an opponent change up, and I definitely want to touch on that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, and then you do a little bit of weightlifting. Okay, we do some powerlifting, some bodybuilding, all that stuff, and I want to touch on all of that for sure. But let's talk about your recent competitions over at the catch wrestling and the bullpen submissions. I'll let you take the reins and decide on which one you want to talk about first.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go in chronological order. So the bullpen submission series was my first competition heading back from the East Coast trials for ADCC I did back in November. It was January, and I had gotten a message from Mercedes, the promoter of the bullpen submission series in Tucson, basically asked me like how much I weighed. And then after I told her how much I weighed, which is typically around like 203, 205, she had offered me a match against Pat Downey, which was essentially he's like a world team member for USA Wrestling, just got into jiu-jitsu, very, very accomplished when it comes to the sport of wrestling. And he was doing a seminar in Tucson, and he wanted to compete in the bullpen submission series event against what he described as like a high-level black belt. But Mercedes felt that I was probably the best fit for him as far as like size and skill level goes. So she offered me the match, and I took it right away because I've been manifesting an opportunity like this for a long time, as far as being able to test my skills against, not just somebody that's skilled, more so somebody that's a bigger name or a celebrity type name in the grappling world. And I wanted the opportunity to be able to showcase my skill level and show the world that I feel like I'm just at if not past the skill level a lot of the world's best guys. And I thought it was a good first opportunity to showcase that. So I took it right away. There's a big build up with the match. Some minor shit talking online, nothing too crazy in my opinion. Like when he was first talking shit, it was just kind of like promotional purposes. So I didn't really take it to heart or anything. I fired back with the SpongeBob meme to keep it kind of innocent but funny at the same time. And I was really looking forward to the match. So you fast forward to the day before the match, and I had pretty much been fasting for about like 36 hours at this point, making sure that I could make the weight of 200 that we agreed on. And I just left my chiropractor getting ready for the meet the next day. And then she gives me a call, and I was like, hey, what's up? And she's like, you know what's up. Because apparently he has somewhat of a reputation for not showing up to events that he, is scheduled for. This is something that I learned during the whole process of promoting the match. I had a bunch of people reach out to me like, hey, like, be careful. Like, I'm not sure he's even going to show this, and that, whatever. And I realized that it was a possibility, but I had thought to myself that, since he's doing a full-on seminar out here, he's already announced it, he's promoted the match, like all these different things. Like I thought it was a surefire thing. Like there's no way he's gonna, even the week of the tournament, he was like kind of talking trash online on one of my lifting videos. And to me, I was like, talk all the trash you want, just make sure you show up. So she had told me that basically she waited at the airport for like 2 hours and he was nowhere to be found. She had paid for his plane ticket to show up, and he didn't, and wasn't anywhere to be found the day of. And she tried to contact him, wasn't answering, contacted his coach, and his coach kind of just said that he hadn't been at training, for months. And so we're all just kind of like completely unaware of what the case was. So she then changed the matchup to one of my good friends. His name is Austin Baker, which then changed the weight class a little bit because I had spent the whole week dieting down to lose weight for Pat Downey. And then all of a sudden now I'm like wrestling up 60 pounds to go against Austin. So the first thing I did after she told me that I'm not going against Pat, I went to go get like 2 large pizzas and try to like close off that weight gap as much as I could, but, and you know what, to sum that up, like, even though there's a lot of disappointment in that the person that with the grappling pedigree that he has didn't show up. I was obviously working specifically for him for the last like 6 weeks leading up to that. It was a little bit disappointing, but in the end, honestly, I think I got the better matchup anyways, because outside of Pat Downey having a really big name, Austin's going to be the better grappler 7 days out of the week. And all in all, going the full 8 minutes with him and losing in overtime was a good estimate. it was a good way for me to show how close I am to being like one of the best in the world. Because in my opinion, Austin is one of the best grapplers in the world. He's proven it time and time again. He lost by a few advantage points to Cyborg at Worlds, and he hangs in there with the best in the world, period. And so it was a great opportunity for me to showcase my skill level, especially with my upbringing, with my I guess promotion faster than most other people when it comes to shit that goes online, and a lot of people that disagree with my speed up to brown belt and now coming up to black belt in a couple of weeks. And it was a great opportunity for me to showcase, like, I deserve to hang with these people. Thank you. I deserve to hang with these people, and I have every ounce of confidence in myself to be able to hang with the best guys in the world. And whatever he thinks about my belt level is completely irrelevant to me at this point, because I've proven that I deserve to be on that stage. So it was a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful that Austin took the match, because it would have been cool to beat Pat Downey, like, late lock him or whatever. But at the end of the day, it would have been, me beating a white belt, and people would have their things to say. But I was able to showcase again my skill level against one of the best black belts in the world, and have a bit of a weight disadvantage at the same time. And at the same time too, actually, me and Austin rekindled a little bit of a friendship. And he's one of my training partners now at our Arizona Assassins group that we do on Tuesday nights. And just overall, the way it ended up was the best thing possible for me. So I'm very grateful for Austin, Mercedes, even Pat Downey for being a no-show, because if he had showed, I probably wouldn't be as close as I am with Austin again. And, I'm just very grateful for it.
Okay, so let's touch on a few things here. First of all, Pat Downey's pullout game is strong. Okay, it is strong. All right, and the fact that he didn't show up and he had that seminar going, I mean, that whole thing just sucks. Not only for you as a competitor, but the promotion itself. They were promoting this match specifically. This was going to be a high level match, and they had to scramble literally at the last minute to get things done. Luckily, Baker, who is a badass, I know Baker. He's a badass. I've called one of his fights, but the fact that he left everybody scrambling at the end, it pull out game strong.
I completely agree. Yeah, it's really messed up, especially like you said, the venue itself was changed because of the match. It was originally supposed to be a no spectator event or one person per athlete event, but with the match itself causing so much stir up in the community, they had no choice but to move it. And then last second he doesn't show up. It's like, I'm glad that we gave the fans a match that probably would have been better in the end, but the fans essentially paid for and came to see like a big match with a bigger name like that. And hopefully one day, I mean, when I made the post afterwards, I did call him out, and I tagged a bunch of the major like jiu-jitsu organizations to see if they would even be willing to give me the attention to make the match. Nobody replied. But at least I wanted to make it apparent that, hey, like, this dude like put his name on this. He didn't show up, and I'm willing to take that match if somebody's willing to give it to me, because that's the least that he owes myself or the Arizona grappling community. It was very disrespectful, not only to myself, but Mercedes specifically, the person that worked very hard to put on the match, and all those that came. Most of those people came from Phoenix too, mind you. So that's about 2 hours away, all to find out that it wasn't going to happen. So it's just really messed up.
And then another thing I wanted to touch on is, if you are watching this and you have not seen that match, go watch it. It is one of the fucking craziest scramble matches I have ever seen. If you want to see two big guys, essentially, because you bulked up a little bit. You weren't exactly 200 pounds. But if you want to see some high-level transition scrambling shit, go and watch that video. You've posted a couple highlights and stuff, but man, that was pretty incredible stuff between you and Austin Baker.
Yeah, that's actually the third match Austin and I have had. The first time I went against him, I was a pretty fresh blue belt. He was still living in California at the time. We did a Spartan Invitational, and he submitted me in the championship in about like 30 seconds to heel hook. The second time I faced him was at Old Pueblo, which is in Tucson, in the semifinals of the Absolute, and he beat me 18-0, I think, something like that. And this time, obviously, to your interpretation, much more competitive, went the full distance, lost in overtime. And again, like, it was just a good opportunity to show my progress. and compete with somebody like Austin, because I've always had a lot of respect for him. In fact, I always tell him this, like when I lost to him the first time, I started following him on social media. I actually started trying to emulate a lot of his guard passing style, his athletic big man type of style, and a lot of the stuff that I do now is stuff that I like saw 3-4 years ago and try to implement into my game. So he's had a pretty big impact on me. So it was always an honor to share the mat with him and to again like see how much I've come in the last 4 years of doing this. He's only been doing it for about 6 years, I think, and he's one of the best black belts in the world. And I just hit my 5th year. Like I said, my promotion is in a couple weeks, and I try to follow as best I can in his footsteps. And he's a very, very good inspiration for myself.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, go watch the fucking videos, because man, that like for people who like, oh well, grappling is boring. Trust me, this was not a boring match. There's fucking big
Yeah,
bodies flying all over the place. It was very, very, very high level good shit, man. Very, very entertaining
thank you.
scrap. And then let's
I
go ahead and
appreciate
touch
it.
up on this. You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's go ahead and touch on the next one.
Yeah.
Your
So the one I just did was this past Sunday, Arizona Catch Wrestling, their second tournament that they put on. Up until this organization, they'd never had, I guess, a catch wrestling tournament in Arizona. And although I'm not specifically like a catch wrestler per se, the rule set is relatively intriguing to me when I come from a wrestling background, and then also obviously with the jiu-jitsu. So it's basically the two things combined. You can either pin or submit to win. And so it changes the game up a little bit, but I had one specific goal going into this tournament, which was to be able to showcase all aspects of my jiu-jitsu game. Up until this point, honestly, I've always been like the takedown, stay on top, finish with either a leg lock or some type of arm lock. But this time I had the specific goal of, finish with a few leg locks, finish with a few takedowns, but more specifically, like take the back, finish the back, and then also utilize and showcase like how proficient my guard is, which in my opinion, I was able to do all those. And that was my biggest takeaway from that. I had two good matches with the guy that runs the Spartan Invitational. His name's Daniel Huber. He's the owner of Spartan Nation Combatives in Mesa. Really good guy. Also a very high level like MMA fighter and everything. And he competes pretty often in the no-gi jiu-jitsu scene. And Dan's one of those guys that I've been, friends with for a while now. It was the first time I got the chance to compete against him. We both went shirtless, so in 3 12-minute rounds, we were freaking drenched, and the mats were slipping everywhere. But luckily, I came out with the victory. But again, I was actually really happy about it because I had actually pulled guard for the first time in my jiu-jitsu career, mostly to try to get some action going and try to get some submission stuff going. Which is catch wrestling is a little bit of a risk because you don't want to get your shoulders pinned on the mat. So I was aware of that, but I was able to get a few different leg lock entries off of guard, and then I was able to wrestle up from guard and take his back, and again just showcase my overall jiu-jitsu skill, not just the wrestling and top game. So it was a great match, and I'm very thankful that Dan showed up because he was definitely my toughest competition there.
all right, and what did you finish off the night with?
So the tournament concluded with I was 4-0, 7 submissions, and the specific submission that I hit with Dan was I was playing my half guard knee shield. He tried to jump over the top of my head to try to get like a pin. I inverted through into like inside Sankaku, honey hole, saddle, whatever you want to call it. Went for his far ankle to attempt what would have been an Aoki lock, but it kind of just turned into an ankle lock, and he tapped kind of early, and then the match just kind of ended right there. So that's kind of how that ended. That one's on Instagram as well. But that was one I was pretty happy about because I've gotten in leg locks before, but never like off of entries on the ground in competition. I mean, so that was a good one to showcase like a lot of the guard work that I've been putting in. Specifically, actually, I have Pat Downey to thank for that. Most of my camp leading for Pat Downey was me practicing leg lock entries off of takedowns, and specifically leg entries and leg entanglements off of guard. And so that's the skill that if I had not gotten the match against Pat, I may have not put so much time into. So it was cool to showcase that a little bit. Because Dan is actually a pretty good wrestler himself. I actually wrestled his brother in high school a couple times. So it was cool how that came about.
Okay, and then I want to change the subject here just a little bit because I kind of want to get into your weightlifting abilities. Um, I've seen a lot of posts and you lifting a lot, and it's not just the amount of posts. What I mean by when I say a lot, I mean a lot of weight. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I know you're only 25 years old, but how tall are you?
I'm about 5'9", about in that area. Yeah.
Okay, so 5'9", 25 years old, and I've seen you lift, I don't know, fucking 400, 600. I don't even know what's your max that you've maxed out at.
Okay, so my best lifts are the squat and deadlift. The best squat I've ever done raw was 715 pounds. I was a little bit bigger at the time. My best, so when I was about like 240, I got 800 halfway up to my knees, but I failed. The best lift I did before that was a 765 deadlift at about 235. But more recently, at my new lower body weight, I did a 740 deadlift at about 200 pounds, which is about 3.7 times body weight. Um, Interestingly enough, when I lose weight, I actually get a little bit better at deadlift. Like my pound for pound numbers go up. So 800 has always been a huge goal of mine. So I'm hoping to be able to touch that here in the near future. I'm relatively close right now. And bench has always been my weakest lift. I've always kept my strongest right in the low 400s with like a competition like pause for powerlifting. Dumbbells, I've done 190 pounds for three with each arm. Just, those are like generally my better list. The squat, and the deadlift, but bench is all right.
I struggle to fucking drink my coffee in the morning, and you're talking about 190 pounds. You fucking dumbbell that?
Yeah, for a few times. It's funny because the gym I was at, they go up to 170, so I had to kind of get creative and take some resistance bands and like tie tens on the end of it. It was like super awkward, but I was able to manage to get like three out of it. My goal is to hit the 200s, but I never attempted those. Maybe one day.
That is wild. I wouldn't even think about lifting that much weight. Not even a little bit. Not even a little
Uh,
bit. The most weightlifting I get is in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
for sure. Yeah.
That's it. I'm not lifting anything else. My wife is. We're good. We're good. So, uh, what is the end goal? I mean, I know you've done bodybuilding competitions. Where if you don't know what that is, dudes like take their physical and make it look like I don't know, like perfect, right? All the muscles and the tan, and explain
Yeah.
that to the viewers here.
Bodybuilding is essentially the sport or art, depending upon how you look at it. To me, it's a little bit more of an art than it is a sport. That might upset some of the people listening, but well, basically, bodybuilding is the person's ability to build on as much muscle as possible, look proportionate in a sense that like your arms aren't overpowering your legs, your back isn't overpowering your chest, and be as what the term is aesthetic as possible. Lean, vascularity, muscle maturity, posing, tan obviously goes into that. There's a bunch of different variables that essentially make up somebody that's very successful in bodybuilding, but those would be the main ones. Somebody that's very lean, has good muscle proportions, and just overall has good muscle genetics when it comes to like muscle insertions, how their legs specifically look, so on and so forth. And they get on stage and they're putting it forth in front of like 4 or 5 judges, and it's kind of the judge's decision from there. Part of bodybuilding why I don't like it as much is because it's really up to the judge's hands. You can work really hard, in fact harder than all your opponents, but if you don't necessarily have what the judges are looking for that day, is kind of out of your hands. So I think bodybuilding as a hobby or as a art is actually very interesting. Being able to shape and form your body to looks aesthetic like they look for. But the competition side of it can get kind of subjective to say the least. And so, unless you're like really into it, I'm not personally. I do it more so as a business decision when I feel like I'm lean enough to maybe sacrifice 8 to 10 weeks to diet a little bit harder, but add that element of bodybuilding to my resume, which is why like I did my first show when I was 17 and I did my last one when I was 23. And if it's right in the future, I might do another one again, but it's not necessarily a huge passion of mine. It's just kind of something that is a little bit of a bookmark if I feel like the time's right.
Well, and for sure, I mean, I can understand the politics that go along with that, just like any sport or, whatever. You know what I mean? I can understand that for sure. But I mean, you look like a goddamn professional. Like, and
Well,
I
thank you.
mean, you are, but I mean, you look like the dudes that you would see on TV, the dudes that you would see in magazines. I mean, you look fucking some front cover shit. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get my pro card in natural bodybuilding a couple years back, and it's something that I might look to try to like renew that again. And competing in the natural Olympia is something that's always interested me too. In regards to your question about the end goal, I've always said that I don't necessarily place end goals for myself because to me that insinuates if I accomplish it, then everything just kind of stops. I more so just try to think about it as short term and long term goals that are meant for myself and the different things that I'm doing. And so, to kind of expand upon that question, one of my first tasks that I'm be doing after getting my black belt is sending out my resume to all the different major pro wrestling organizations and hope for a tryout to essentially, like you kind of said, be the cover boy of some of these different things. And being a fan of Goldberg, as we'll talk about later in the show, to me that would be kind of things coming full circle and I would really like the opportunity to impact and inspire others, especially kids like he did to me my entire life. And not only that, be able to pave the way for my friends and loved ones back home with my success that I accomplished elsewhere. That is essentially, I guess, what you would call my end goal when I'm able to take my own success and help others out because of it and just never stop after I accomplish it.
Okay, and that's highly commendable and very I respect you for that. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So it's something not a lot of people think about or do. You know what I mean? When they reach a certain level of success, I don't want to put like a percentage on it. My brain went straight to fucking like 90 because
Yeah.
that's just how people are. But it's nice to know that you're one of the ones that thinks the other way. You know what I mean? That's good. That's good for sure. Now you
Thank
brought
you.
it up, so let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, so
For sure.
Goldberg. Now, for those of you who don't know who Goldberg is, he's a professional wrestler, and I believe he's with WWE. I haven't followed
Yep.
wrestling since I was a kid when I was body slamming my brothers and shit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
because
I hear you.
I was one of those kids that got in trouble because we were wrestling everywhere and breaking shit
Yep.
and breaking each other, and you know what I mean. And Goldberg was one of those guys um, that like if you were Goldberg, you had to win. It was like if you were Stone Cold, you had to
Yep.
win. If you were The Rock, you had to
Right.
win. We're talking about the Attitude Era, pretty much. So, talk to me about how he inspired you and your interactions with him, because I've seen a couple of them online.
Yeah, so it's a story that I tell every single podcast, but it seems to get better every time I tell it. Basically, when I was 3 years old, like you said, the Attitude Era was going on. So you had the war between WWE and WCW. And at the time, being 3 years old, my parents have always been relatively protective, mostly due in part because I have an Asian mom and I'm an only child. So what I was able to watch, see, and do was within their control for the most part when I was a kid. But out of all the wrestlers or out of all the wrestling that was out there at the time, and that was at a peak time of pro wrestling, my parents solely let me watch all the Goldberg matches. For whatever reason, they felt that he was, someone that was not only somebody that I could look up to, but appropriate enough to where, like, he wasn't one of the guys that like I don't know, at the time, like for example, like all the suggestive like sexual stuff that was going on the television and stuff like that, or like all the gory stuff that was going on. There's some pretty questionable stuff that a 3 year old probably should be watching. But Goldberg was more so the guy that to me was like a literal superhero. My dad grew up idolizing like Superman, and so Goldberg kind of fell into that role for me because like you said, like if you're Goldberg, you have to win all the matches he won in a row, the number of times that they would pair him against like 3 or 4 different guys and he would still somehow manage to win. When you're 3 years old and impressionable, that's something that like makes a long lasting impact. And so when I think about my goals and now like wanting to try to test my luck with pro wrestling, it's like, why was I only impacted by Goldberg so young? Maybe it's because things come full circle and I'm actually the one that's going to fill in that role and be able to impact the youth like he did with me. And so something with Goldberg is there's like something every single day that I do in some way, shape, or form that resonates with something that I used to see him do, be it his intensity in his training or in his performance, his humbleness in life, his willingness to help others, his just kind demeanor in general. It was very inspiring to me to see somebody that looked like a god, just supremely jacked, just extremely athletic, extremely strong, extremely dominant, but then also have the soft, kind-hearted side to him that, you know, would go in the stands and pick up a little kid, or you know, do the different Make-A-Wish appearances. And I'm like, you know, that's somebody that I want to be like, you know, on the scale that he's like. And so I've done my best locally to try to fill in that role with my friends and those around me that have gained some inspiration from me that I'm grateful for. But right now, I'm ready to take that step and impact a national, international scale with that same passion and that same talent that I believe I have. And I think pro wrestling is going to be the route to do it. And to answer your question about Goldberg, after idolizing him for 20 years, my good friend CT Fletcher, who's a big lifting entity, who's good friends with Goldberg, had actually put in a pretty good word about me to him. All of a sudden, you know, Goldberg follows me on Instagram. We start messaging on Instagram. He sends me a few care packages, which if you go deep enough on my Instagram, you can see like he sent me, you know, pretty much the whole Goldberg kit. It was crazy, like a signed poster, you know, like stickers, a championship belt, like shirts, all these different things. And I couldn't believe it was happening. I was like, you know, 22, 23 at the time. And he then was making an appearance at Mr. Olympia, and I stood in line for over an hour to meet him. And I saw you like that post on my Instagram before we started, but you know, I had met him for the first time in person. He already knew who I was. I couldn't help but break down into tears. My mom was there. My two best friends were there. It was like it was the best day of my life, hands down. Only to be upstaged a few months later when he gave me and my two other friends tickets to the SmackDown event that he came to in Phoenix. In which case, he had his skit. It was the first time I've ever seen him perform live, so that was amazing. He starts walking off, so I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, you know, we got to see him live. And then my best friend Irving looks like, dude, he's coming back. He's coming back. And I look and I see him walking back down the ramp. I'm like, holy shit. So my friend Irving pulls out his phone. He's like, go, go. And I jumped over the seats in the front row because Goldberg hooked us up with like second row tickets. It was amazing. And like that one's on my Instagram too. Just run into his arms. He gives me a big hug, tells me he loves me, and the whole arena is obviously looking. They're like, who the fuck is this kid? Like hugging Goldberg. And I remember going out into the arena like afterwards, and everyone's like, how do you do that? How do you know him? Blah blah blah. I was getting all these questions, and you know, he just made like my 3-year-old dream watching him in like 1999 go up to all these kids, like these 5, 6-year-old kids, and give them a hug and like hold them up and everything. Essentially, that was me now in my 23-year-old body experiencing that, something that to me I never thought was going to happen, just due to the fact that he had been retired for about like 12 years. You know, he had his like instances with the WWE where they had their falling outs. And if you had asked me that like 5, 6 years ago, if that was a possibility, I literally would have laughed in your face. I would have never thought that it would be possible. But it's circumstances like that that give me the utmost confidence in where I'm headed in life and what I'm meant to do. And, you know, something like that where I meet my childhood hero and connect with them via social media, and lucky enough to even call him a friend of mine now. That's not coincidence to me. And that's all the confidence I need to continue pushing forward to accomplish my goals.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. Okay, I'm listening to this story with a fucking giant smile on my face. That is probably one of the fucking coolest stories that I've ever heard in an interview, because
Thank you.
it came full circle. And you could see in the videos and stuff, you know, how happy you were and how much that those instances meant to you. You know what I mean? So I can't help but smile and be happy for you. And,
Thank
you
you.
know, I hope, you know, that well, not hope, I mean, your hard work's going to pay off, man.
Thank
It's
you.
already speaking for itself, you know what I mean? I think you're
I
on the right
appreciate
track. And you know, somebody, when you're not expecting it, you know, is probably going to pick up the phone and give you a call, send you an email, write you on Instagram, and you're going to be on to you know, that maybe that, you know, long-term goal that you set yourself up for, you know what I mean? I think you're currently taking all the right steps to get to where you want to go. You know what I
Thank you.
mean? And it's you're also taking the longer route because you're humble. You're not. I mean, you threw some shade over at Pat Downey, which is well deserved. You're a better man than me. I'd have ripped his ass a fucking new one.
I
But
appreciate it. Yeah.
you know what I mean? You're a very respectful, humble guy. So it is, taking a little bit longer than it should, in my opinion. You know
Thank
what I
you.
mean? But I think the end result is going to be the same. I think you're going to reach these goals and get to these platforms that you're trying to get to now. I think it's coming sooner rather than later.
I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to not only talk about, my goals and aspirations on your podcast, but again, just another opportunity for me to speak these goals and feelings into existence. I'm very big on manifesting. Yeah, and just the opportunity that you've given me now, I'm sure I'll look back at this interview a few years down the road and, really think to myself, like, yeah, like I knew where I was going and here I am. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And I think it's opportunities like this that, sometimes you just don't even know what the hell is going on until it happens. I'll tell you a little story. So I was interviewing the matchmaker, Jason House, I'm
Right.
sorry. Jason Martinez from Rough. I was interviewing him, previewing one of his Rough cards. I believe it was the Valentine's Day Massacre. And in the middle of the fucking interview, he just straight asked me if I wanted to do commentary. Like, that's how my
Really? Hell yeah.
commentary career started, was in the middle of an interview. And like I said, I wasn't expecting it. I was just like, are you for real? Like, when we finished up the interview, I'm like, you really asked me to do that? Like, so opportunities come when you least expect it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
also, like, sometimes it's cool to fucking, go door to door and fucking try to, dig up the opportunity yourself. But man, I think this is one of those things. I really do. After talking to you and getting to know you, I think this is just one of those things where you're not going to be expecting it. It's going to be a fucking, that punch you don't see coming, and it's going to fucking knock you down. You're going to be like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? This is exactly what I've been waiting for, because I was trying to work my way into working with an organization, and Ruff was the most willing. And again, I wasn't asking for it; it just fucking happened, and it's been one of the best things to happen to my career in the business. So, like I said, I think this is one of those things where you're not going to see it coming, and it's going to knock you on your ass. It's going to be awesome. You still there, my man? You froze up here. You
Well,
know,
I appreciate that. Yeah,
there
yeah,
you go.
yeah. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, well, I appreciate that perspective and congratulations. I mean, obviously you deserve it, and with how you run your podcast, it's very clear that you're a man that deserves to be behind a microphone. So that's very awesome. And to your story, I'd have to agree. A lot of my opportunities in life, I feel like have come that way. Me becoming a jujitsu coach as a career was something that kind of was a complete right hook to me that I didn't see coming, and that's bled into my training for lifting and all these different things. Now being able to have a personal training business that I can provide jobs for my friends for, completely did not see it coming, but very grateful it did. And to your point, I think that's where the quote comes into play. Like, success comes when opportunity meets preparation. So I'm always going to be prepared because I never stop preparing. So when the opportunity comes, success is hopefully right around the corner. And so it may not be the way I expect. It could be a completely different way. But as you said, that long-term goal or that end goal is always the same in my mind, however I get there.
100%. And, it's opportunities like this that, kind of set you up for those relationships. Like, we now have a relationship. I mean, we had a little Instagram relationship before,
Yeah.
but after getting to know you and speaking to you and, getting to know the real Jimmy House, I mean, I think that this is going to be one of those things where, it's a little bit more personable and it means more to me now that, you're not just, a message inside of Instagram. You know what I mean? Because we all get
Right.
busy and we all get those messages and we all, try to hustle. And until you create a bond, it's really superficial. So again, that's how it started with
Right.
these guys. my sponsor for the show. That's how it started with
Very
Brad.
cool.
That's how it started with Brad. He done runs fighter support. That's some cool shit. And like I said, you get to meet a bunch of cool people that are like-minded. You know what I mean? That just work hard every single day. Two of the hardest working motherfuckers I know. Two of the hardest working motherfuckers I know. And you know, that passion, that drive, that, you know, just being responsible when it comes to your work. You know what I mean? Those are the type of people that I connect with on a very high level, because, you know, except for when I'm being really lazy, you know, I jive with that. You know, everybody's got those days where you just don't want to get off the fucking couch. You know, well, you're over here lifting fucking cars for a living, so I don't know. You know, have you ever lifted a car?
No, I've been tempted to a few times, but just the weights. I'm only good at lifting weights. Like when people ask me to move furniture out of their house, like I typically am not the best guy for the job, to be honest. It has to be a barbell or a dumbbell with a set handle, because otherwise I don't know where to grab it and I'm just not the guy. But I appreciate the confidence.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what. Here is what I will do. I will install a handle on my car.
All right, fair enough.
It's a Kia, it's a 2002 Kia Spectra. You'll be fine. You know, I could probably lift it with enough beer in me. You know what I'm saying? So I think a professional like you might actually flip it. So be careful. Be careful. But there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think is next immediately? And it looks like you might be getting a call because the camera disappeared. But
Sorry,
what do you think is in your immediate future? What is next on Jimmy's list?
In the immediate future, like I talked about, I have a black belt promotion in a couple weeks, so I got to get my black belt test done the weekend before. So I'm excited for that. To me, that opens up the door to start sending out resumes. That was kind of like the cherry on top of everything else I've accomplished in the past, to try to wow and try to gain the attention of certain organizations or certain recruiters. We got West Coast trials in April for ADCC, so I'll be at that. In May, there's a CT Fletcher Iron Wars event that we used to always go to before COVID hit. There'll be, I'm going to the Arnold Expo in March for the strict curl world championships. The first event they've ever had there for strict curl. So I'll be doing that. And then, you know, outside of that, as far as like immediate things that are happening, I'm hoping to get a call to go to one of the training centers for WWE or AEW, whoever's willing to give me a chance so I can showcase the different skills that I have. But, you know, outside, those are my most immediate goals, and just continuing growing myself as a brand, as a business, do my best to help all my friends and loved ones in the process. And when I'm ready to take that step outside of Arizona, make sure everybody back home is taken care of.
Okay, and during your navigation through your career, is it just you, or do you have a guy? Do you have a manager?
No, I don't necessarily have a manager. I have a great support system between my parents and my best friends and my Coach Scott Tannenbaum out of TNT in May Training Center. But no specific manager. No, just, you know, myself. And, you know, my business, House Strong. This is our secondary logo, but my business, House Strong. Most people obviously associate House Strong with me because I'm Jimmy House, but actually it's my three best friends, Matt Olson, Page, and Irving Dominguez that are running it behind the scenes. That business is actually solely dedicated.
You're cutting out a bit.
Sorry, you still hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can.
Okay. My goal is that through my growth and success in the upcoming years, be able to give that business solely to them and have them profit from my different accomplishments and so on and so forth. So that brand, How Strong, is what I'm working to be able to hand off to them at some point in the near future. So yeah, just pretty much anything that I'm looking to do is I'm really hoping to be able to take care of everybody that's gotten me to this point. But no, I don't have a manager yet, at least.
Okay, and where was I on to after that? The cutting out kind of threw me off. That's all right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
By the way, sick fucking hat. That is dope.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
www.teamhousestrong.com.
I was about to tell you to drop your fucking website so that people can pick up these merches. You know what I
I
mean? Because
appreciate
that,
it.
that
Thank you.
that hat is sick. You know what I mean? I
I
hooked up.
appreciate it. Kind of.
Yeah, that was me. It was the wife calling. She can figure it out. She just she does this thing, right? She goes in to get us food, and she always, well, what do you want? And for me, I want food. I want food. That's all I care about is food. It doesn't have to be anything that I like because I'll eat anything. You know what I mean? I don't care as long as it doesn't have mayonnaise on it. I'm good.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, anyway, yeah, I'm a hat guy, obviously.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So I hooked up my guy with the local here in Tucson, and he's, I believe, in I want to say like Wisconsin. Brad, don't kill me if I got that wrong, but I think he's like in Michigan or Wisconsin. He's in one of those two
Okay.
states, I think.
Okay.
Okay, and he actually went through my girl down here in Tucson and had the hat shipped to him, and then he shipped me one. It's
Nice.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks great.
Yeah, and it's probably the most comfortable. I'm not saying this to fucking, no, don't do that here, but it is the most comfortable hat I've ever worn in my life, which is crazy because I'm the one that helped him pick out the everything, and I picked out the one that I like because, well, anyway.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, sick fucking hat, and I remembered the question. Okay, so real quick, because I know you got to head out to the gym. Um, Go ahead and give like a brief rundown or history of your gym, and then we'll go ahead and get to shout outs and stuff.
Sure. Well, TNT MMA Training Center is my jujitsu gym. I've been coaching there full time for about 3 years now. I'm underneath Coach Scott Tannenbaum, a fifth degree black belt under Higa Machado. He's been my coach since I started jujitsu 5 years ago, and our relationship, business wise, friendship wise, and coach to student wise, has grown very strong. I would say, especially in the last year, and he's given me so many different opportunities that I could have never expected or wished for. But I just believe that through my hard work and his appreciation for what I try to do to give back to him in the gym every single day, he's been able to not only create a opportunity to make jujitsu my actual like job, my career, and make some pretty good money off of it, believe it or not. But also now start my personal training business in the back. We've added a bunch of different new machines and equipment back there to start running some small one-on-one or group private training classes that I'm excited to start. I've been able to hire some of my best friends as trainers to again help start living that dream of being able to create careers essentially for my best friends as a way to thank them for what they've done to me. Traveled across the country for me, and it's an honor to be able to represent TNT. We're located in North Phoenix. If you have anybody on the podcast in North Phoenix looking to try jujitsu, I'd be more than happy and willing to help them out. Just shoot me a message. But that's my gym. That's my home gym. That's my family, my second family. I spend pretty much all day, every day there now, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So, TNT MMA Training Center.
Awesome, awesome. And what's their ad on social media so people can follow the training center?
Yep, at TNT MMA Training Center, all one word. And then his personal Instagram is at Scott_Tannenbaum is his name. You can find all that through my page as well.
Okay, and drop your at for those who aren't following you that need to do it like right fucking now.
Perfect. Thank you. So Instagram, it's at the letter J House 182, J House 182. I have my coaching page, Coach_Jimmy House, and then I have my business page at Team House Strong. Twitter, you can find me on there. Snapchat at JHouse182. TikTok, Jimmy_House. YouTube, you can find me at Jimmy House, and then Facebook, just search up Jimmy House as well. You'll see all my different links on there. And then, of course, my website, as mentioned earlier, www.teamhousestrong.com, where you can find all of our different shirts, hats, stickers, merchandise to help support myself and my best friends.
Yeah, because that one right there is fire, my friend. That one, I like that hat a lot. All right, so of course, every interview gets ended, but we don't have a. Oh, okay. Two things, real quick. I'll make it quick because I know you got to go. Okay, after you get through a competition, win or lose, how do you celebrate with food?
You know, it depends how hard I was dieting leading up to it. Typically during the course of like maybe 2 to 3 weeks of like watching my diet strategically, I'll develop my list of restaurants that I plan to hit before we get back on the diet again. This last time after the catch wrestling tournament, we went to Cold Beers and Cheeseburgers. I don't know if you had that there in Tucson, but it's just like one of those like hamburger style restaurants. Like, yeah, you have to try it out if you come to Phoenix. Tachos, those are my favorite. Like tater tots that are like in nacho form, those are good. You know, but honestly, for the most part, I try to let the people that came to support me pick where we're going, you know, just kind of there for the ride. In Tucson, shout out, we went to Illegal Pete's where my friend Willie Audifree is a bartender there. He hooked us up. So if you're in Tucson, check them out. But I'm not super picky with that. I rather just go where my friends want to go.
That's awesome. See, you're fucking a great guy, great friend, a great competitor, and it's been an honor having you on the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Now the last thing. This is the last thing. I promise. I swear. I'm not gonna ask you any more shit. I'm gonna give you as much time to thank whoever you would like that has gotten you to this point in your career.
There's a lot of people to thank. Immediately, my parents, Chuck and Candy House, are going to be the top two. They've kind of paved the way for me, show me what hard work is dedicated for, and inspire me to create the success that they've created for themselves, but for myself in my own way. Um, Coach Scott Tannenbaum, we touched on him, you know, the opportunities that he's given me to not only advance my jujitsu in such a short amount of time, but to also make an actual career out of this. And then now to help my friends start their careers out of it. It's something that I'll forever be in debt to him for. And I hope that my future success helps pay off that debt in any small way that I can. My three best friends, Matt Olson, Irving Dominguez, I've known them since I was 5. They've essentially been with me through literally everything since I was a little kid. They know everything about me. And my other best friend, Jacob Hayes, who came in during high school wrestling. Those three are the three co-owners outside of myself of How Strong. So I have a lot to thank in regards to them. A couple of my best friends, Fred and my good friend Carla, they're trainers underneath me at the personal training business at TNT. And there's just so many more other people to thank, man. But those are the people that I probably are connected with the most in my day to day now. But realistically, I mean, everybody in your life has a place and purpose. So I'm just very thankful for how my life has come up to this point, and those that have touched on it, and whether no matter how long or short of time they've been a part of it. But thank you for the opportunity to mention them.
Absolutely, 100%. And you, my friend, have got to get to the gym. You have got to go. So I need to let you go. Like I promised. I promised I wasn't going to ask you no more shit. So this is me saying I I appreciate the time. Even though it was a fucking nightmare setting it up, we got it fucking done, my friend. We got it done. So again, thank you for jumping on the show, sharing your stories with me, buddy.
Of course, it was better than the 15 minutes you originally planned for, I assume. So hopefully we got some good.
Way better.
Yeah.
This is already top 5 of 2022, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
All right, buddy.